Saint Augustine Commentary on the Gospel of John, chapter 4, verse 43 to 54. Tractatus 16. The Gospel lesson of today follows that of yesterday, and this is the subject of our discourse. In this passage, the meaning, indeed, is not difficult of investigation, but worthy of preaching, worthy of admiration and praise. Accordingly, in reciting this passage of the Gospel, we must commend it to your attention rather than laboriously expound it. Now Jesus, after his stay of 2 days in Samaria, departed into Galilee, where he was brought up. And the evangelist, as he goes on, says, "For Jesus himself testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country." It was not because he had no honor in Samaria that Jesus departed thence after 2 days, for Samaria was not his own country but Galilee. Why, therefore, he left Samaria so quickly and came to Galilee, where he had been brought up? How does he testify that a prophet has no honor in his own country? Rather, does it seem that he might have testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country had he disdained to go into Galilee and has stayed in Samaria. How mark well, beloved, why the Lord suggests and bestows what I may speak, that here is intimated to us no slight mystery. You know the question before us. Seek you out the solution of it. But to make the solution desirable, let us repeat the theme. The point that troubles us is why the evangelist said, "For Jesus himself testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country." Urged by this, we go back to the preceding words to discover the evangelist's intention in saying this, and we find him relating, in the preceding words of the narrative, that after 2 days Jesus departed from Samaria into Galilee. Was it for this, then, you said, O evangelist, that Jesus testified that a prophet has no honor in his own country, just because he left Samaria after 2 days and made haste to come to Galilee? On the contrary, I should have thought it more likely that if Jesus had no honor in his own country, he should not have hastened to it and left Samaria. But if I am not mistaken, or rather because it is true, and I am not mistaken, for the evangelist saw what he was saying better than I can see it, saw the truth better than I do, he who drank it in from the Lord's bosom. For the evangelist is the same John who, among all the disciples, reclined on the Lord's breast, and whom the Lord, owing love to all, yet loved above the rest. Is it he then that should be mistaken, and I right in my opinion? Rather, if I am piously minded, let me obediently hear what he said, that I may be worthy of thinking as he thought. Hear then, dearly beloved, what I think in this matter, without prejudice to your own judgment, if you have formed a better. For we have all one master, and we are all fellow disciples in one school. This then is my opinion, and see whether my opinion is not true or near the truth. In Samaria he spent 2 days, and the Samaritans believed on him. Many were the days he spent in Galilee, and yet the Galilaeans did not believe on him. Look back to the passage or recall in memory the lesson and the discourse of yesterday. He came into Samaria, where at first he had been preached by that woman with whom he had spoken great mysteries at Jacob's well. After they had seen and heard him, the Samaritans believed on him because of the woman's word, and believed more firmly because of his own word. Even many more believed. Thus it is written, after passing 2 days there, in which number of days is mystically indicated, the number of the 2 precepts on which hang the whole law and the prophets, as you remember, we intimated to you yesterday. He goes into Galilee and comes to the city Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there, when he turned the water into wine, as John himself writes, his disciples believed on him. But of course, the house was full with a crowd of guests. So great a miracle was wrought, and yet only his disciples believed on him. He has now returned to this city of Galilee. And behold, a certain ruler, whose son was sick, came to him, and began to beseech him to go down to that city or house and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Did he who besought not believe? What do you expect to hear from me? Ask the Lord what he thought of him. Having been besought, this is what he answered, except you see signs and wonders, you believe not. He shows us a man lukewarm or cold in faith, or of no faith at all, but eager to try by the healing of his son what manner of person Christ was, who he was, what he could do. The words of the suppliant indeed we have heard. We have not seen the heart of the doubter, but he who both heard the words and saw the heart has told us this. In short, the evangelist himself, by the testimony of his narrative, shows us that the man who desired the Lord to come to his house to heal his son had not yet believed. For after he had been informed that his son was whole and found that he had been made whole at that hour in which the Lord had said, "Go your way, your son lives," then he said, and himself believed and all his house. Now, if the reason why he believed and all his house was that he was told that his son was whole, and found the hour they told him agreed with the hour of Christ for telling it, it follows that when he was making the request, he did not yet believe. The Samaritans had waited for no sign. They believed simply his words. But his own fellow citizens deserved to hear this said to them, "Except you see signs and wonders, you believe not." And even there, notwithstanding so great a miracle was wrought, there did not believe but himself and his house. At his discourse alone many of the Samaritans believed. At that miracle, in the place where it was wrought, only that house believed. What is it then, brethren, that the Lord does show us here? Galilee of Judaea was then the Lord's own country, because he was brought up in it. But now that the circumstance portends something, for it is not without cause that prodigies are so called, but because they portend or presage something, for the word prodigy is so termed as if it were prorodicium quod prodicat, what betokens something to come and portends something future. Now all those circumstances portended something, predicted something. Let us just now assume the country of our Lord Jesus Christ after the flesh, for he had no country on earth except after the flesh which he took on earth. Let us, I say, assume the Lord's own country to mean the people of the Jews. Lo, in his own country he has no honor. Observe at this moment the multitudes of the Jews. Observe that nation now scattered over the whole world and plucked up by the roots. Observe the broken branches, cut off, scattered, withered, which being broken off, the wild olive has deserved to be grafted in. Look at the multitude of the Jews. What do they say to us even now? He whom you worship and adore was our brother. And we reply, a prophet has no honor in his own country. In short, those Jews saw the Lord as he walked on the earth and worked miracles. They saw him giving sight to the blind, opening the ears of the deaf, loosing the tongues of the dumb, bracing up the limbs of the paralytics, walking on the sea, commanding the winds and waves, raising the dead. They saw him working such great signs, and after all, that scarcely a few believed. I am speaking to God's people. So many of us have believed. What signs have we seen? It is thus, therefore, that what occurred at that time betokened what is now going on. The Jews were, or rather are, like the Galilaeans. We, like those Samaritans. We have heard the gospel, have given it our consent, have believed on Christ. Through the gospel, we have seen no signs, none do we demand.